Warning. Warning. You are about to enter the propaganda report with Brad Binkley. Warning. Warning. You are about to enter the propaganda report with Brad Binkley.
It is true.
Warning. Warning. You are about to enter the propaganda report with Brad Binkley.
You have entered the propaganda report with Brad Binkley. That was the voice of Josh Warren and the music of Justin Ridgway. This is, as I said, the propaganda report with Brad Binkley. We have a great show for you all this evening. And by great, what I mean is that we have a show and perhaps even the suggestion to some of you of greatness of what's about to come is offensive. But nevertheless, for those who it is not offensive to, it is you who I love the most for the appreciation of what is to come. Hopefully it is worthy, and it will be. Let's find out, why did we bomb Iran, and the Bill Clinton, Jeffrey Epstein testimony that dropped today in the midst of all this. I find that to be a little bit interesting. He testified on Friday. Hillary testified on Thursday. The videos, which they didn't do it live. They did in some weird, looked like they were in some weird trailer or something. It looked like it looked kind of really shady where they were doing it. Like a place that nobody really wants to go where they were doing it. And everybody was kind of crammed in there. But they dropped the video of it today. And from what I understand, I haven't watched all of it because it just came out a little while ago. Bill was kind of getting Trumpy's back and, getting each other's back on the situation is what it seems like. But don't hold me to that. I haven't watched all of it. I do have some clips for you from what I have watched because it was like a 5-hour testimony. And old Bill, man, now he looks like a skeleton. Still charming, looks like a skeleton. Nevertheless, let's talk about the main subject of the week, of the day, however long. We finally did it. We finally bombed Iran with the help of Israel, of course. Like, would we be bombing Iran if we didn't do it without or with Israel? Like if we it's like going to, you and your buddy talk about something for a very long time. Let's go to Six Flags and you've never been, or Disney World, whatever. You go without your buddy that you talked about it for so long. Maybe not the best example for the younger generation, but nevertheless, you understand. The John McCain boners in the grave memes have been pretty funny. Really? The boner poking up through the grass. He's all bones now, but he can still get blood to that D. I would encourage the meme makers to go ahead and put Lindsey Graham sitting on top of that thing, because it's not really a John McCain boner if Lindsey Graham isn't sitting on top of it. I think we all know. So I'm a little disappointed we haven't seen that yet. Not that I want to see it, but that's the natural order of things in our world. Make sure we got this thing going here. Good evening, Grubinator. Good evening, spam comment from, what is that? What is that platform? Jack? No, whatever that weird, Kicks is what it is. Nevertheless, audio is good, right, guys? Trying to make this a little bigger so I can see you guys. I'm getting a new monitor and stuff next week, so I will not have a problem seeing you guys soon. What? Hello, Finlander. I can't see this. I know who it is, but I can't see the screen on it. Let's get back into the. I told myself I'm going to go to this. I'm going to go to the comments after I do a little bit of show. I get distracted by I love the comments. But I'm trying to be more organized with a presentation of the information. And leave in the chats what you guys are thinking about the whole Iran bombing thing. everybody thinks they have to have a take on everything, like immediately. You immediately have to have a take. And if you don't have a take, you're behind. Oh my God, everybody on social media knows exactly who they're angry at and what to say. That's not real life. Real life is you think things through and you come to a conclusion based on what you've processed, and even if it matters to you, maybe it doesn't even matter to you because it doesn't affect you, but you're convinced by social media that you have to have it affect you and it has to be the center of your life when there's things that are remote and in front of you that are more important. Oh, but oh my gosh, it's coming here. Well, no, the politicians and the media, they want you to perceive things as being imminent and looming because they rely on our attention. 100%. They rely on our attention. And when our attention is consumed by whatever the hell it is they're doing, it's not focused on what's present, what's right in front of us. And what's present, what's in front of us is always what's most important. That's not to say that these matters don't matter, but the alarmism all around social media, all in the news, they don't let them direct your attention. There's something called the agenda setting theory, which is a social science theory. They've been studying this for a long time, and they labeled it this decades ago, where the prominent media, the news media, social media, whatever, determines what we think about, what we care about, when we care about it, why we care about it. Well, it's so easy to get pulled away from things right in front of us. If you're interested in politics, what I would suggest, we talked about this on Whatever This Is last night, is local politics where you can actually have an impact. And these local politics, which they do send these kind of commie co-opters to come take over the most local offices, is you can actually run for office or help someone win office at these local positions, while these national positions, they're a little more rigged. Me personally, I don't vote in the federal elections. The local elections, I'll participate in. But nevertheless, all of the hype going on in the news, don't let you lose sight for what's right in front of you. And I'm saying that to you, not as preachy. I'm saying that to you as a reminder to myself. Because for me, it's with what I do, it's easy for me to get consumed in things that are just so distant when what is right in front of me is what is more important. And now let's go back to the distant stuff, which I intended to talk about. So let's talk about the whole Iran bombing. We did finally do it, but I do want to assure everyone that this is not one of those, it's not one of those like forever wars. It's not one of those regime changes or whatever, or as Secretary of War Pete Hegseth said, he assured us that this is not a so-called regime change, but instead it is a war that the regime sure did change. This is not a so-called regime change war, but the regime sure did change. That's the linguistic twist they put on it. It's of course, it's not a regime change, just the regime changed. Now watch me bench press 3 plates. You guys think he did? You guys think he hit those 3 plates? I think he might have. He seems like a strong guy. He's a douchebag, but he played college basketball, which I would dominate him in basketball, okay? Let's be honest. White lightning. But college athletes train. So he might have did that, or he might have been, whatever. It's all stupid. Doesn't matter. Also, don't want anybody to worry that this is not one of those, which Trump railed against, by the way. Remember when Trump was railing against this? The forever wars. He was tweeting against Obama. Obama's probably going to start a war with Iran because this is a distraction. He's going to start a war with Iran. Not going to be one of those forever wars. It's going to be one of those maybe 2 week, 3 week, 4 weeks, maybe whenever Trump decides it's going to be. We don't actually know. And how can you ever know? And whoever starts a war by going, the war that we just started is going to be 25 years or whatever it was. Okay, just to let you guys know, dig in. Don't expect anything ending soon. Expect your children and their children, if they live, to also go to war. So basically, it started in the exact same way as all the other forever wars. And that's kind of the manipulation of it, isn't it? It's so simple. But really, it's like, no, we promise you it's not going to be one of these forever wars. It's going to be short, but the president, as Hex has said, he can end it or do whatever as quickly, or he can let it go for as long as he wants. As though Bush was like, this war's I can't even do it. So Trump is so in my mind, I can't even do Bush anymore. He used to do a good Bush. Not anymore. Nobody starts it going, it's going to be a 25-year war. Hopefully it will not be. And I actually don't think it will. I think they'll probably try and wrap it up quicker. But that, I don't know, though, honestly. We really can't know. Everybody has these conclusions, and everybody's full of shit. Like, literally I don't care who they are. Right, left, middle, libertarian. They're all full of shit. Nobody actually knows. No one. Everybody is high and righteous. Everybody is like, this is the perfect time to monetize social media. This is the perfect time to ride that engagement wave because emotions are high. That's what this is for everybody who is providing takes. It might be, except for me, obviously. Obviously, except for me. Give money to other people. I don't care. Like, literally, don't give me your money. That's what I'll do to try to get authenticity. I'm not right about everything, but I'm not trying to fucking con you. That's for sure. Our media landscape is full of con artists. And these are the moments where they try to con you the most. Boots on the ground. Don't worry about boots on the ground. You got to worry about boots on the ground. Your kids who are enlisted don't have to worry about going over there because, as Trump said, he reassured. He told the New York Post, here's what he said. He said, there will be no boots on the ground. I don't say that. Wait a minute. I think I read that wrong. Actually, no, definitely. Here, let me give you the full quote. Here's what he said. He assured every parent that their enlisted soldier, their son or their daughter, would not have boots on the ground. He said, I don't have the yips with respect to boots on the ground. Like every president says, there will be no boots on the ground. I don't say that. Oh, okay. So my mistake, he's saying that he doesn't have this is a sporting, so the yips is a sporting, so you're shooting free throws. You're a great shooter in the NBA, but you're bricking free throws. You're shooting 50%. You got the yips. Pitcher in baseball loses his curveball. He's got the yips. It's a psycho analysis thing in sports that he's relating to war. He doesn't get the yips like Obama did. So he went all in, and he doesn't know. And look, I get that. I get if you're playing the game war, if you're playing war, you're going to want to be unpredictable. That is what he's very good at. And it's exactly the kind of thing that I expected, and many of you, I'm sure, expected who listen to this show. It's when you have friends or people that you know who a year ago, 18 months ago, were like, yeah, no, he's not going to start any wars. I'm voting for him for not starting wars. And then it became, no, this is what I voted for. We got to get rid of the Ayatollah, I don't even know how to say it. The Iran guy that they had never thought about ever. The Ayatollah, what is it? Sounds like a spaghetti dish you buy at Kroger. I don't know. They think he's living. They think Iran is a bunch of people living in caves. And this guy, they're all throwing rocks, which is kind of counterintuitive, because if they were just living in caves and throwing rocks at us, then I don't know that we would really need to bomb them with Israel. It's just kind of crazy. It's like, how easily do we, and that's kind of what I notice about all this is, I will right now, if any of my conservative friends are listening to this, they will definitely be saying, Brad has turned into a liberal. That's so far from the truth. I'm like anything but a liberal. I'm not anything. I've done the same thing I've always done. I've called out like a war propaganda, and I've deconstructed propaganda like I've always done. It's a promise about one thing, and then you get into office, the same thing they all do. And then they just rebrand, and he's the best at rebranding. And I've said this on the show a number of times. I like Trump. I think that if I met him personally, he would charm me, and I would have to be like, I got to get away from this guy. I like him too much. That's why I got to criticize him the most. But it bothers me that we can be so swayed and compartmentalize. Obviously, he ran on one thing and he's been saying one thing. He actually tweeted at one point how Barack Obama is going to create a distraction by bombing Iran. And now it's like, I don't actually buy into the whole thing about the Epstein. It's a distraction. I think maybe the timing of it, maybe the timing of the Bill Clinton testimony on Friday, feels like he's helping him out. But I think it was all going to happen anyway. They package it together so that it does work as a distraction. I don't know that that's the main point. But like, there'll be people that I know who get mad at me for not just jumping in on all of this. And when I say, but did you vote for this? They'll say, yes, I did. And I'll say, when? At what point was he campaigning on this? And they'll be like, it doesn't matter. It's this thing where it's like, you like the cult of personality, then you like the position. And that's a very challenging thing, because when you like someone, when you identify with someone, and those who you see as being opposed to them, it's very difficult to be like, I'm going to not agree with this person and say something that maybe this other person might say. And that's what's going on right now. So right now, the position that I'm expressing, which is not complete like agreement with the bombing of Iran, it is one that in the right-leaning media, which I'm a more conservative person, they say fiscally conservative and socially progressive, not progressive, liberal. I don't know. It's all stupid. Nevertheless, I would be characterized, and I've heard this either or propaganda. It's like you're either with us or you're with the enemy. I would be characterized as someone who's on the left. And that's not a truth. I haven't changed in my criticisms of it. It's the flipping of whatever the position, the person people like, and people go over to it. And then they get mad at the people who don't do the same. And I'm not... I know that happens because, you know, we've all been in this, you know, game for a little while now, but it's just like, how easily do we want to be pulled around by our noses, you know, be bamboozled? I mean, if anything, this demonstrates a lot of people get lost in the weeds and all this. I'm not a foreign policy expert. That's not what I am. I'm a propaganda expert. I've been studying it for a very, very long time. I've been studying con artists for a very long time, like personally, firsthand, in the midst of it, like understanding from them, understanding the history of it. That's what I understand. I see the patterns of all of this. So if you believe this is the right thing to do, that's fine. But it's not what people voted for. And the people voted for one thing, actually against this kind of thing, or a lot of them are now, yes, celebrating this thing because it's been rebranded in their mind by Trump, who's a great rebrander. And moving forward in the future with media, with the swiftness of which information can be pumped into our heads, how easily do we want to subject ourselves to being just pulled around by the noses just like that, and being flipped on a dime, being convinced that we think one thing, then convinced we think another, the complete opposite. I think we need to be a little better than that, honestly. We need to be a little more skeptical of the people we like. We all do. The people we like the most, who are politicians, who are influencers on a large scale, if we are not harder on them and more skeptical of them than those that we dislike, then we are fools. People who get the most space in these platforms, they get there, and maybe they don't achieve that level with a co-option, but when they get there, they're the target of co-option. That doesn't mean everything they say is wrong or that they have insidious intentions, but it means that whether they know it or not, there's an influence upon them that is intended to influence the audience beneath them. And this whole thing, this inevitability of bombing Iran is like, to me, it was, because you follow this thing for a period of time. It was so obvious it was going to happen. It was just people voted for Trump hoping it wouldn't, but then he does it, and they're like, they're glad it did. They're glad it happened because the Muslims are coming to kill the Christians, and we had to stop them. I mean, that's kind of the narrative that's going on. Is there truth to it? Well, I don't think so, and I'll get into that here in a moment. So that was like 10 minutes there that I just totally went off my outline, which I always tend to do that. But it's not the decisions that are made. It's the short circuit in the critical thinking of the public that bothers me. I talk about Candace Owens a lot. It's the same thing. It's not the decisions that are made or the conclusions or the outcome. It's the short circuit in the thinking that the influential figure causes in those who are following them that bothers me. Because if we do not prevent that short circuiting from happening, then we're toast. Then we are in the cave. We're in Plato's cave, and we might think we're out of it, but we are so deep in it that we have no idea. And the people who come and try to say, "Hey, come look at the light," or we attack that. I mean, I've been attacked on so many different levels, kicked off the internet, told I was going to die when a doctor told me, he's like, "Do you have the jab?" "No, I don't have the jab. You're going to die." Like you've heard the stories on my show. I'm not going to go through them again. And some of you guys have experienced this too. It's not easy to not be on the bandwagon about everything. And when they do either or propaganda where it's like, you don't agree with us, you're a progressive shit lib. No, I'm absolutely not. I'm the furthest thing from it. But that's how they get people to just shut the F up and join them with whatever they go with. And again, I'm not a foreign policy expert. I don't know how all this is going to turn out. I'm just talking about the way they got there and the way they're getting support for it after the fact. So they didn't do the big branding campaign, how they typically do it when it comes to a war happening. They did a little bit of it. They did seed it, not as over the top as like the World War I propaganda campaigns. But what they're doing, it appears, is the after the fact, the reading the tea leaves and just testing talking points, because there's like a list of different reasons that the public has been given thus far in the past couple of days for why this happened. And what they're going to do is they're going to go with the one that the polling test best. I'll give you some of the ones that you've heard some of them. I don't mean to be intense about all of this stuff, because I'm not in Iran. I'm assuming you guys aren't either. So I can talk about this safely. And if I believe that Iran was about to do something to us dangerously, and if I was shown evidence that they were, then I'm not saying I'd even be opposed to something like that. But they don't show us evidence for things like this. Ever. They don't want to show us evidence. It's any war. I recommend everybody reading a book called Propaganda During World Wars, written by Harold Laswell. And it goes through all these different appeals with a basic premise. It talks about all the appeals that every country used to get people who were basically neutral and didn't want to go to war to enthusiastically join to fight and kill what they had been propagandized into believing was a demon enemy who, if they didn't kill them first, then they and everybody they cared about would die. It's these war appeals that without, if they were to present, this is a false pretense of war that we all talk about in the past with the weapons of mass destruction, all of it. War, it turns out, history often tells a story that the people were pulled into supporting it, and oftentimes many were pulled into joining to go fight based on a false pretense that didn't tell the true story because people would not feel justified in going to kill other human beings based on the actual reasoning for those in power. Because what you find out when you research the publics of the world is they don't actually hate the other publics of the world. It's these elitists who are playing this little like game of civilization, using the plebes of the world as their fodder, as their chess pieces, and convincing them that they need to hate the other plebes. And that's what bothers me. People in Iran aren't sitting around all day saying death to America. Iran isn't a cave. There aren't a bunch of people in sand throwing rocks. If they were a bunch of cave-dwelling people throwing rocks at each other, then would there be any reason for us to attack them? No, there wouldn't be. They have a pretty advanced society just like we do. And most of their society, they do not have ill will towards the American people when you look at the polling over there. Again, this is all, I haven't been over there. I don't know what polling can be manipulated, obviously. But it's the government of our country that they don't like, just like it's the government of their country that we don't like. And who fights the wars for those governments? It's these people who actually don't hate each other at all. All the memes online are these, it's these chicks right here. Social media. From the pro-Trump. Look, I like Trump. I'm not lying. I like Trump, but I don't like this. Where's my... Sorry. So this is what I'm seeing all over social media, and it's hilarious because it's so stupid. It's this right here. Look at this chick. So this is what you're seeing on X anyway, and on Instagram from pro-Trump media. It's like all the Iranian women just stripped off the hijab, flew down the cloth, put on the bikini, and started making sexy TikTok videos in celebration of the liberation. And then the talking point from those who are just blind supporters are in second thought, open the borders for the Latinas of the Middle East. That's it. That's the talking point. As though this is what's going on. Right. You think that's what's going on? You think all the Iranian women are like, finally, outdoors go, let me show my titties on TikTok. You think that's what's going on? Just by the way, the conservative commentators are like, open the border, also formally criticize this type of unholy behavior. Are there people celebrating in Iran about what happened? Probably. They're probably mostly protesters, probably paid for. It's just like when Sam talked about this last night on whatever this is. We've talked about this a number of times. Charlie Kirk, when he was killed, were there people who celebrated his death? Of course there were. We saw it all over. Could another country portray that as all of America celebrating the death of this right-winger, Charlie Kirk? Of course they could. If something were to happen to Trump, could it be portrayed that will there be people celebrating? Of course. Could that be portrayed as everyone celebrating? Of course. Would that be true? Absolutely not. But we're told that. And we're told that for a reason. We're told that to get us not to think about what's going on. If what they want us to believe is true, tell us. Tell us the real story. We've reached a point where propaganda and the way things operate has been exposed and come to light because of the internet age and social media, at least a little bit. I think not as much as people think it has. I think people think they know a little more about how it all works than they actually do. But nevertheless, shouldn't we demand the truth when we see obvious propaganda? Because that's obvious propaganda. So if you believe in what went on, instead of sharing this and saying, open the borders for those Iranian titties, instead of doing that, say, okay, this is cool and funny. I love the meme. The mimetic warfare is fun, but like, be honest with me here, okay? Because that is an attempt to subvert critical thinking is what that is. So maybe what they're saying is true, but why are they trying to insult us by putting some Iranian titties in our face and hope we don't ask questions? Mimetic warfare, it's great, it's fun. It's insulting, actually, when you think about it. I'm going to hit these comments in a minute. Yeah, this stuff, so, like, I don't know what's right in foreign policy. I have no idea. But I just know when they're trying to deceive us into not asking questions, the right questions anyway, and thinking in the right way. There's a lot of information that we should be given if we want to be fully informed. Now, maybe some people don't want to be fully informed, but sometimes it's just easier to just tell me what I want to hear because it feels so good. It's just, you know, people get mad at me about it because I'm just like, you didn't vote. You actually criticized Obama and Biden when they did this or they talked about this. And they're like, well, you did. What are you demanding that? This is what happens. So you bring this up, and before you even say anything, people who already disagree with you will go, oh, didn't get congressional approval. And I'm like, I didn't even say that. That's just that's what you saw online. You're just reacting to me as someone disagreeing or asking a question as the stereotype you saw online. Because this is how the subversion of critical thought works. I've never actually brought up in seriousness the idea of, well, they didn't get congressional approval. Because congressional approval for a war, that's not something anybody ever actually wants. All that is something that the party out of power demands and propagandas their people into demanding when they're not in power. When they're in power, they don't care about that. All that is a weaponization of a constitutional fact or part of the Constitution that hasn't happened since World War II, and it's definitely never going to happen. Because if you look at it logically, you know, you're not going to do that because it would tip your hand. So no one's ever actually going to do that. But it's still always used as some moral high ground. Well, I'm stand with the Constitution. No, you don't. Nobody stands with the Constitution unless they're out of power. When they're in power, you know, they'll go Lindsey Graham, John McCain on the Constitution. And so that's like a talking point, just like, don't even engage with it because it's not serious. And so so Trump, by the way, let's see what Trump had to say to explain everything. So Trump gave there's a lot, not just Trump, but there's like a lot of explanations given. I can find my list here. Yeah, so here are some of the explanations given for what happened. And again, I'm not claiming to know. I'm just pointing out the varying explanations as for why. And I mean, I'm open. I'm always open-minded to be convinced about something. But you got to convince me. You can't insult me. You can't insult me with some Iranian titties, okay? You got to convince me. Not ripping off the the hijab. No, just actually give me some evidence, you POSs. So we were told, among other things, let me skip down here. I didn't go into the actually disturbing facts of this, which I guess I'll hit that. I hate hitting that, but I will. We were told that this strike happened, this is the list of things, to preempt a possible Iranian attack, which then the Pentagon later said was not, there's no evidence for that. The Pentagon said that. And then we were told that this happened to join an Israeli attack that was already going on, with or without us, which is weird. Shit, they're going in without us. We can't go to we got FOMO. We got to get in there. And we were told to take advantage of the fleeting opportunity to kill the leadership. Maybe some of these, there's truth to them. I don't know. But why so many different explanations? We were told for the freedom of the Iranian people, that's like the oldest one in the book. And we were told for a leadership shuffle, like what we did in Venezuela. We were told for a diplomatic deal is what happened. And we were told Trump basically said to stop the nukes, which is, okay. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's been 25 years they've been saying that. And Trump told CNN's Jake Tapper that he said Tehran ignored his warnings over its nuclear program. It goes back to what I was saying. And he did not rule out sending U.S. troops to Iran if necessary. That's good. So, look, actually, maybe your kid will go to Iran. Let's hope nobody has any children or none of you joined the military recently. I've said on this show for a long time, don't join the military right now. Because they're about to do some stuff. Don't. If you want to, if that's what you want to do, like if that's the thing you're into, if you're like Punisher and you need the blood and guts, it's fine. But if you're not expecting to be thrown into some world war, then it's not the best time. We were also told by the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Kane. He said that the U.S. goal was to remove Iran's ability to project power outside its borders by destroying its military. And finally, Trump also said that he had very good choices for who should lead Iran. And then he later said that none of the people we had in mind are going to come to power because they're all dead. Well, you get them all in the same room. And I get the brinksmanship. I get the demonstration. And look, if it ends shortly, I hope it does. I hope to be proven wrong about all this. I personally don't like when anyone dies. I understand we live in, I'm very idealistic with my anti-war position. But I do understand that we don't live in a world where everybody is in harmony with each other. So I hope to be proven wrong about all of this, but it just seems so similar. You do this long enough and you see the same patterns. But Trump did, by the way, let's let Trump clarify. So Trump did do a speech today to kind of bring some clarity to all of this. He said, let's see here. I think he really helped out. So this actually opened my eyes a little bit. Trump said to help us understand exactly why he did what he did. Here he is.
I picked those drapes in my first term. I always like gold, but I think we can save a lot of money. I just saved curtains, but and it'll be spectacular. It'll be the most beautiful ballroom. I believe it because
he picked those drapes. Let's hear that again.
I picked those drapes in my first term. I always like gold, but I think we can save a lot of money. I just saved curtains, but and it'll be spectacular. It'll be the most beautiful ballroom. I believe it because I built many a ballroom. believe it's going to be the most beautiful ballroom anywhere in the world. And when you hear all that hammering out there, you know why the First Lady is not thrilled exactly. She said, will the pile drivers ever stop? You know, they go from 6 in the morning till 11:30 in the evening. Can you imagine?
Well, that's what. So Trump, he picked the drapes. Will the pile drivers ever stop? Says Melania. That's like went to war. Melania wants to know if the pile drivers are going to stop right after Trump's talking about a big hole behind the wall. That's look. Trump's a funny guy, but this is a transition. It's so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. Melania said the pile drivers, when are they going to stop? They're going all night. You know, not saying you should, no sexual innuendo there. Who are the pile drivers is the question I ask. Who are the pile drivers? And why won't they stop? And what are they pile driving? I think is what we all want to know.
Before we begin this important ceremony, and there's no ceremony that can be much more important than this, let me provide a brief update on Operation Epic Fury. Today, the United States military continues to carry out large-scale combat operations in Iran to eliminate the grave threats posed to America by this terrible terrorist regime. Following our obliteration of Iran's nuclear program in Operation Midnight Hammer a short while ago, we warned Iran not to.
Maybe the Operation Midnight Hammer is why the pile drivers won't stop when Melania asks them to stop. Again, I'm not a foreign policy expert. I just don't like the deception. I don't like war. And everything we see, and I'm going to show you right now, actually, a text that I got earlier today. So I sign up for all these activist texts and stuff just to see what they say. I've done it for a long time. And I got one earlier that said, where is it? It said, this is what it said. It said, our condolences. That's what you could see in the text line. Our condolences with the Hegseth family and everything they're going through. I got that this morning. And then it said, read our update here, somewhere to click. My first thought was, oh my God, what happened to Pete Hegseth or his family? Was one of his children involved in the war in the military? Did something happen to them? Which was obviously the emotional appeals they're trying to pull. And then I click on it, and it says, articles of impeachment have been filed against Pete Hegseth, which I believe happened in December. He could be removed from the office any day now if we don't take immediate action. And our hearts are breaking for him. Pete Hegseth is everything Democrats hate, a God-fearing man, God-fearing family man who loves America, which, by the way, he cheated on his wife with his, what was it, his maid? Not his maid. It was the help. And she became his wife. Which it happens, I get it, but let's not ignore the facts here. America's safer because President Trump made him Secretary of War, and all caps, nothing makes Democrats angrier than a safe and secure America. We put together a letter standing with him in the wake of these disgusting impeachment efforts, and we set the goal for 1 million signatures before midnight tonight. Will you add your name? And then it gives that same kind of letter. So this is the type of emotional manipulation that I'm talking about. The only reason I clicked on that is because I saw that little headline in the text that said condolences. You don't give condolences when articles of impeachment are filed for someone. You give condolences when someone has a family member die or a friend die. And it's this type of stuff that I'm sick and tired of. I don't care if I agree with everything that you say or anybody, which I don't with him, but it doesn't matter. If you're trying to get my attention by saying condolences to so-and-so, and you're trying to make me think that someone they're close to died because you know that pulls my heartstrings, go fold up on yourself and roll down a hill. Go fillet yourself down a tall mountain. Like it's this type of shit that pisses me off. It's insulting. And people who are subverted into not thinking, you're going to see something like that, and they're not even going to think about the level of deception that went into that text. There's a reason that text was crafted the way that it was. It was crafted that way to get you to click on it and then get you to forget about how they got you to click on it because you like that person, and then donate money to why don't they trust you with the truth is the question. And this has always been the question with propaganda. This is why I tell people, propaganda in World War, Harold Laswell talks about every country does this. Now, we've reached a point where, we need to decide, are we just okay choosing what our confirmation bias is satisfied by and not thinking in a nuanced fashion and not having to look at things that are, we understand this side. The reason that they don't want us thinking that way is because we will be humane, and we will think about the other humans involved, and we will think about the appeals being made, and we will recognize that the false pretenses that happen seemingly throughout history always happen. The idea that we're under threat is our whole civilization, ourselves, our family is under threat. It's been the same appeal since as far back as the history book goes. Does that mean it's not true? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. But stop lying to us about it and respect the intellect of the public who has stepped it up collectively. Okay? Unless you want to stay in Plato's cave. And nothing pisses me off than being, and that's such an insulting lie, that text. What's up, JC? I went way off script. I don't even know where I am on my script. So what's happened so far, just to go back, and then we'll come back to some of these clips. And I had this whole thing planned where I was going to be lighthearted about this, but I just hate the deception because it's like nothing screams you're plebes, you dumb F, than that kind of text right there. Oh, condolences to Pete Hegseth. And then you open it up and it's, he's being in articles of impeachment from a couple months ago. It's just, give me a break. Can we have some money and a signature from you? And that's what they do. They think everybody's stupid. And then they just use identity politics, whether it's religion, whether it's race, whether it's gender, one way or another, to get people to get so angry at the other identity that they don't stop and think about how stupid all of this is. We all know people who've died. Some of you have had people in your family who have died. I have. And when you think about that in the context of a text that is designed to get your signature and get your donations for Pete Hegseth, and the condolences are because the articles of impeachment are filed, which were going to be filed the moment he was nominated, because that's what both sides do. And to equate that with the loss that you have experienced in your life is insulting. And they think they're so confident that people won't be insulted enough to recognize how belittling that is. Condolence, give me a break. I will dominate Pete Hegseth played basketball at Princeton. I will destroy Pete Hegseth in basketball. I'm serious. I will put all the money I have. I will destroy that motherfucker in basketball every day of the fucking week. If I can get past the drone strikes, he might have a drone strike team popping the basketball every day. I would destroy him. This is coming from somebody. I'm like very understanding. I try and really think about like even those I dislike. I try to be like, there's definitely a point of view. There's always another point of view. Nobody walks around thinking they're the villain. Everybody has justified things in their mind where they are the ones who must do what they've been convinced that they're doing, but no matter how violent. When it comes to people fighting in wars, I try and understand that perspective. But this type of insulting shit, it's just it's like you're so stupid. You're so stupid, plebes. I mean, give me a fucking break. So there's been 6 U.S. casualties, 18 injuries. This is as of earlier when I was preparing the show. There was a friendly fire incident, which thank God it wasn't Israel. Thank God it was a friendly fire incident from Kuwaiti, and everybody ejected from the plane, so they survived. Thank God. I mean, imagine if that were Israel who did the friendly fire thing. That would be some flashback shit right there. And this is the worst story, and it's going to end up being the most controversial. At least over 100 children have died after a girls' Muslim elementary school was hit. That the school's nearly like a quarter mile from a base that was being targeted by the U.S.-Israel strikes. Now, the Iran side of this is saying that we just targeted it on purpose. And the way this always works with the story is what we'll say if we haven't yet, and I don't know that we have yet, is we'll end up saying that it was like some errant missile. That they were trying to hit us and it just like fell in the wrong place. That's how it always works. Does that happen? Yeah. I mean, it's both stories will end up being stories that are plausible enough for the groups they're appealing to. However, what one of our guys said, who is it that said that? We're like looking into it, apparently. Hold on, let me find it. What's the guy's name? One of our generals or something. Okay, Navy Captain Tim Hawkins, he's a spokesperson for the U.S. Central Command, told the Post that the military was aware of the reports, concerning civilian harm resulting from ongoing military operations. And he said that we take these reports seriously and are looking into them. And look, he also added that protection of civilians is the utmost importance, and we will continue to take all precautions available to minimize the risk of unintended harm. And then he said, unlike Iran, we have never and will never target civilians. So that's... Both sides are always going to say that, and both sides are going to probably target civilians. What's the movie with Jennifer Lawrence, Mockingjay? What's that movie called? You know what I'm talking about. You guys know what I'm talking about. The third version of that movie, she marches into whatever the city is. Well, let me get the title of that movie. Jennifer Lawrence, Mockingjay. Okay, The Hunger Games. It's like the third version of The Hunger Games. And they come marching in towards the end of the third movie. And they have imprisoned Kiefer Sutherland's dad, the long gray hair, the bad guy. And they were able to get where they were because there was a bomb that killed a bunch of people, including children, on their side, on Jennifer Lawrence's side. And she goes and talks to him. They let her go talk to him in the place he's imprisoned. And he says, I'm not above killing children. That wasn't me. And then she has the realization that it was the woman who had been named the leader who they were following on their side that conducted a false flag to make it look like he did it so that they could then enter the territory and take over. So that's why these things are, that's real shit, because these are psychopaths. And that's why it's difficult to determine what's true. And that's why, and it's difficult to get evidence. But for me, I hesitate to jump to the defense of any side of those things, because I know that all of these people in power have a similar psychopathy. Now, the evidence out there for this, like I said, a lot of this stuff is new to me. I haven't looked at it, but I do see people who will discuss a similar philosophy that I'm talking about, who, as soon as the story breaks, take one side or the other because of their predetermined biases. And if we want to survive the propaganda war, the assault that's going on in our minds, is we have to fight against our predetermined biases as much as possible, because it's the energy and emotion and the passion that compels the fighting, that compels the audiences we have to do whatever, not me, but some of these bigger accounts, to do things in the name of that passion that they've been convinced they must pursue. We have to fight that. Critical thought is the death of propaganda. It's the death of this globalist superstructure. And the only way to embrace critical thought, embrace cognitive dissonance, it is to question those who we like and are more likely to believe without question. It's true. Those sent to propagandize us are not the ones we disagree with already. It's the ones that we're more likely to agree with. I say that all the time. It's the hardest thing to do. Intellectually, it makes perfect sense. Emotionally, it's extremely difficult. It's extremely difficult. You don't win many friends with that philosophy either. We've told a lot of things too. So Trump also said, he said, there's very good choices for who to lead Iran. And then later he said, none of the people we had in mind are going to come to power because they're all dead. They're all dead. Of course. How can anybody know the truth about what's going on right now? Literally nobody can. Even them. Nobody knows the truth of what's going on right now. Just official spokespeople pretending to know what's going on the ground that they're not on. All right, let's hear a little more Trump's statement.
Make any attempt to rebuild at a different location because they were unable to use the ones that we so powerfully blew up. But they ignored those warnings and refused to cease their pursuit of nuclear weapons. In addition, the regime's conventional ballistic missile program was growing rapidly and dramatically, and this posed a very clear, colossal threat to America and our forces stationed overseas. The regime already had missed.
Is anybody really concerned about nuclear weapons from Iran? I know the people who are they're all in on Trump. They've been convinced that they're worried about it, but this is what we've been told for 25 years with Iran. We were told this about North Korea. Do we believe, and I have somebody has told me this before, that if they were to get nuclear bombs, they would just start firing them off, and because they're cave dwellers. They're not. They're not, actually. Was it Tesla that wanted everybody to have nuclear weapons because it would be just a constant Mexican standoff? Me personally, maybe I'm naive for this. That's never been a concern. North Korea didn't blow us up. And how long, like if it's 25 years, they're getting closer. It's insulting is what I'm saying. To continue to say the same thing for 25 years as a reason is insulting. It's crying wolf. Crying? What am I? It's like of a crying wolf? Like of a lisp? Crying wolf. How many times do we have to be told the same thing? Maybe it's true at one point, but when we're told the same thing to get us just to go along and shut up, how long until we go, wait a minute? Our memories are short. We're ambushed constantly with messages and images coming from our phone, our computer, our screens. We rarely escape it, honestly. Think about, when's the last time you've been away from a screen? I mean, for like an extended period of time. It's probably been a long time. Even if you sit yours down, you go to a store, you see screens up there. You see a bus, you see screens there. You see billboards, you see screens. These points of contact for propaganda are everywhere. And they fill our heads with more information than we can remember, and it makes it easy to forget. I mean, this is the same thing for over 25 years.
Missiles capable of hitting Europe and our bases, both local and overseas, and would soon have had missiles capable of reaching our beautiful America. The purpose of this fast-growing missile program was to shield their nuclear weapon development and make it extraordinarily difficult for anyone to stop them from making these highly forbidden by us nuclear weapons. We were the ones that were complaining. We were the ones that wanted it stopped, but everybody was behind us. They just...
I get that. So, like, I get, if I'm thinking about this in college football terms, I get that I don't want the University of Georgia to have nuclear weapons. I want Georgia Tech to have them because I like Georgia Tech better. You know, if we're talking about this in terms of the best athletes, I want that advantage. So it's not a popular position to try and understand the perspective of others. I get that. It's not. It's actually. You know, people sometimes intentionally say, I just want to focus on the enemy I want to defeat and intentionally disconnect from that position so that I can see them as vermin. And that's called war propaganda is what that's designed to accomplish, is war propaganda. And, you know, I love America. People will probably say that I don't, because I do actually love America. And I think that, especially when we talk like Trump does, we're not officially a Christian-only nation, but Christian values in this nation. And I'm not the most religious person in the world, but I tell you what, Jesus loved his enemies. Jesus, you know, Jesus loved his enemies. Forgive them, they know not what they do. That seems to be something that's kind of forgotten, and it's my idealism coming out. I understand we live in a kill or be killed world. I get that, but sometimes the fear of being killed or having your country taking over is a little more exaggerated, I believe, because history has proven this to be true than the reality, and it's used actually to convince people to go join a war and fight and die, like some already have in this war, or support a war where other Americans go fight and die on this false premise. Boy who cried wolf. The premise could be true at some point in time. History has proven quite often that it's not.
Just didn't have the courage to say so. An Iranian regime armed with long-range missiles and nuclear weapons would be an intolerable threat to the Middle East, but also to the American people.
So, a lot of people are getting mad at me for this. Iran, I've never been to Iran. The Iranian people don't hate all the American people. They don't sit around all day and think about death to America and how they're going to kill the Christians. That's not what, I mean, it's a very big country. They don't sit around all day and go, all right, how do we make money today? Well, we sit around thinking about how we're going to kill Christians and Americans. They're just trying to survive like we are. They're going to their jobs. They probably don't like them, most of them, trying to make money, go home, deal with their spouse, their girlfriend or boyfriend. The thought of Americans probably rarely comes into their mind until it's put into their mind by whatever their propaganda media is over there to make us seem like a bad guy. The same shit that happens over here. Most of them just want to survive and live. And you know how many people in America, I think rightfully there's questions about this. Let me find it. It's the USS Liberty attack. That a lot of the questions about Israel and, concerns about Israel's intent come from the sinking of the USS Liberty in 1967, where 34 Americans died, 171 were injured. And you talk to a lot of people, and that is where a lot of people point to, is they don't believe that was an accident. You can argue that all you want, but that is where a lot of that stems. Did you know that in 1988, the USS, I'm going to say it wrong, Venesis, I'm sure I said it wrong, It's a Navy warship shot down an Iranian passenger jet. It was Iran Air Flight 655, an Airbus, with 2 surface-to-air missiles, killing all 290 passengers, just civilians on board, while it was flying its regular route, leaving its stopover over its Iranian territorial waters in the Persian Gulf, like right after it departed. This was the deadliest incident involving an Airbus A-30 ever to happen, in the deadliest aviation incident in Iranian history. And the reason I say this is because people have a lot of reasons they point to, our freedom, our religion, as to why people in Iran, some of them, don't trust Americans. And they never point this out. And when you research it, this flight, they believe that this was either gross negligence to where we were baiting them and that we didn't care, or they believe that we did this on purpose. Now, our argument is that it was an accident because it was during the Iran-Iraq war, and there's a lot of details of it I'm not going to get into, but we have an argument as to why it was an accident. It's very similar in the back and forth as the USS Liberty story. And so that's the reason some people in Iran question America. I want to believe that it was an accident. I hope it was an accident. I don't know. I don't know the details, but that is what I choose to believe. But nevertheless, stepping into their shoes, you can see that maybe the story that it's not necessarily our religion or our freedom or that bullshit, that there are other reasons. And the fact is, when you look at their public polling over there, like I said, most of them don't actually hate America. It's the government. And the rhetoric, when the people are polled over there, they don't like the rhetoric, the death to America rhetoric, all that stuff. Those come from professional protesters, a small number of people over there that the majority of the citizens do not agree with, protesting death to America. Just like we see the small number of paid protesters over here in many occasions doing stuff. Not always, but in many occasions, you have the radicals that they come and put forward that get the attention on purpose, and then whatever the media covering them paints everyone with that same brush. The sooner everybody can realize that it's elites using the people of their countries as pawns, then the sooner their power will dissipate. Because they're not fighting the wars. They're not getting on the front lines. They're playing the chess battle, moving the pieces. It's the people they compel into anger, patriotic anger, for fear of their life and their families' lives, which is often proven to be false premise for a war. Critical thought, when it's snuffed out, leads to global conflict. That's all it is. That's all it is. That's why coming out of Plato's cave is hard. You go back in, everybody yells at you. Embrace the cognitive dissonance. Embrace being yelled at. And other people will open their eyes and they will be yelled at. They said at Davos 2021, I don't remember who that bitch was, but she said, never before in the world have the elites of the world been more united. And yet at the same time, never before have the publics of the world been united in their distrust of the elites. They've been working to change that since then. We need to get back to that. You know, was it T-Lav? Always talks about team sports politics. It's everywhere, man. It sucks, man. I like Trump, but this stuff sucks to me. All right, so I'm gonna switch because this stuff, like, I really want to have fun with all this. How do you have fun with this? It's tough to have fun with this. I don't like being too serious. Unfortunately, though, this is a subject that ends up calling for a little bit of seriousness. So Shia LaBeouf, you guys might have seen in the story, he got arrested in New Orleans during Mardi Gras. Yeah, he did an interview with this guy from Channel 5. I don't know the guy's name. He's the guy who interviewed Hunter Biden. But he said something, this is like me personally, that is like, whoa. As Shia LaBeouf said something that could not have connected more with me and rings so true. I'm going to play it for you guys. I mean, I know for a fact that what he's about to say is true.
Lives. Remember trying to get Mike Piazza's autograph, motherfucker. You know what I mean? For my lives. Remember trying to get Mike Piazza's autograph, motherfucker. You know what I mean? For my whole life, Mike Piazza.
Were you waiting outside the fence?
Every day, this guy, bro. We used to go to these Dodger games. Big Brothers program used to give these tickets out. You go fucking Dodger game. Me and all of them dudes would be sitting in the parking lot. Brent Butler always signed. Hideo Nomo always signed. Mike Piazza.
Just a cold heart.
Mike Piazza, you're a bitch, bro.
How many times do you think he rejected signing it?
Every day, bro. I used to go out there 90 times probably. Rejected me 90 times. So what it did was, I'm going to sign them all. So when I got on, it was like, yo, fuck Mike Piazza.
The question to him was, why do you take pictures with all of your fans and sign autographs? And this was his response. It's because of what Mike Piazza, he wouldn't sign for him.
So you don't turn down any pictures?
Never, ever. Not unless I'm with my kid or I'm eating some food. Lives. Remember?
So that reason that connects with me is because my brother's, he's like over a decade older than me. And when I was a kid, he played baseball at Georgia Tech. They were #1 in the nation at the time. He was a pitcher. He had record for saves at the time. Very good pitcher. He got drafted out of high school, actually. Went to Georgia Tech. And after 3 years at Georgia Tech, played with Jason Veritate and Nomar Garcia-Parra. If you guys are baseball people, you know who those guys are. Gets drafted by the Dodgers. And when he went to spring training for the first time, my parents and me went down there to go see spring training. And Mike Piazza was huge at the time. I mean, he was the best catcher, one of the best hitters in baseball. And as a kid, I loved baseball. And I would get all these players' autographs, like Greg Maddux, Tom Glavine, John Smoltz, all of them. And they all were so cool and kind. And then I saw Mike Piazza. I was like, oh my God, there's Mike Piazza. And I went over there to go get his autograph. And exactly what Shia LaBeouf said happened. He's too cool to sign autographs. This is spring training. This is one of his, my brother was a minor league player, but they were all in Dodger uniforms. And it was the same thing my whole life ever since then, I've had exactly the same thought about Mike Piazza. That he just said, Mike Piazza, you're a bitch. The same thing, and I've never felt more connected to Shia LaBeouf than that, because I know that that's true because I experienced it myself. What a cocksucker Mike Piazza is. You're a catcher? Oh, great. You're a catcher. Give me a break. You're a bitch, Mike Piazza. And, I mean, I've been telling people that my entire life, and I've never heard one other person say it until I heard Shia LaBeouf say it right there. It's so true, dude. He's a bitch. He's a fucking bitch, man. Mike Piazza, dude. What a bitch. All right. About to get out of here. 2 quick stories. What up, Grubinator? I'm gonna hit the chats after the story. I just thought this was interesting here. Because I don't know what I believe that comes out of China or the Sun, which is where this article comes from. Chinese technology giant, I don't even know how to say that name, unveils 217 mile per hour electric hypercar. What the fuck is a hypercar? Was it need Adderall? It's got to like center itself. It has a sofa interior. Do you want a sofa? It's just a rolling brothel at this point. Give it a vibrating mattress at this point. And an AI brain that senses the driver's mood. An AI brain that censors the driver's mood. Now, the AI brain, what it does is, apparently, is it senses your mood and changes the car's interior to suit your mood. How does that work? What does it do? Binaural beats? What if it's a woman, she's on her period? What does it do to the interior of the car to change a woman who's menstruating's mood? I mean, the underlying suggestion here is that this car has figured out how to ease a menstruating woman's heart and mind. And if that's the case, my God, you've got a much better product than this car on your hands. Look at it. Look at this car. This is the stupidest car I've ever seen. What is this? Who pulls up in this piece? This is the dumbest thing. Although, if a menstruating woman can get in this car and then get out and she's like, I'm happy now, then my God, I don't care how stupid it looks. Sorry, ladies. Or a menstruating man. Men can menstruate today. It's 2026. Look at this. Look at this. Is the dumbest. I don't believe half the shit that China says they make. What is that? It looks like a butt plug or something. What is this? They have the inside of it somewhere. That's supposed to be the inside of it. Look at this wheel. This looks like one of those racing games at like Dave and Buster's. You know, except it solves menstruation, as we've learned. And here, I guess this is the lounge seat. Is there like a vibrating thing going? I mean, this now it's bigger though. It's a little bigger. So the wheel here just is one side, but here it's like a dual wheel, so you can drive with your lover. Each person gets a hand on the wheel. You know, and it's like a Mexican standoff. I don't know what that is. I thought there were better pictures than that. I guess I was wrong. I guess I was wrong. Get rid of that. All right, one more. And let's see here. All right. Smoking gun. Headline from the smoking gun. Threesome fizzled, then fist flew. Is that a good thing or a bad thing if the fist flew? I don't know. I don't know what kind of threesome it is. No happy ending after group sex plan aborted. Look at the police report. Have I done this one? Is this an old story? I feel like if there was a threesome story on Smoking Gun, I would not have missed it. This is a police report. Actually and intentionally, this is the charges of that woman we just saw. Touch or strike her boyfriend and cohabitant against the will of the other person involved. To wit, struck the other person multiple times in the face with a closed fist. On the above date and the time at the above location, the defendant and victim invited their friend, so-and-so, redacted, maybe it was Les Wexner, over to their shared residence to engage in sexual activity after all parties declined participating in sexual activity. Wait a minute. So they invited them over after, or did they get there and then everybody declined? The defendant became angry and used, okay, excuse me. Let me read this sentence again. After, I think I read this sentence too fast. They invited everybody over, said, come over, we're going to have the threesome is what happened. And then with redacted, Les Wexner. And then they said, after all parties declined once they got there, is what they're saying. Participation in the sexual activity, the defendant became angry and used her left hand to repeatedly strike the victim multiple times in the face while he was seated on the couch in their living room. Redacted witnessed the defendant repeatedly strike Redacted in the face with a closed fist. The defendant and Redacted have been in an intimate domestic relationship with each other for 2 years and reside together. I feel like that's a story that's common in Florida. That's her. Look at that. Can you guys see that? They got this photo of her that's you can't see that. Hold on. That looks like a little bit of an edited photo of her. She's smiling. She looks like she's about to have a three-way in the drunk tank, honestly. You just show up for the three-way and then the person who invited you just spends the whole time just punching the guy in the face. I assume it's a guy. Maybe it's Brittany Griner. Maybe she was there. I have no idea. Yeah, I really wanted some more juice on that one. See if there's another. These smoking gun stories are sometimes a lot of fun. Sometimes they're all title and no substance. Man jailed for a frappy attack. We got the pickle assault. We did the pickle assault the other day. Let's go with jailed for whatever this is. An ex-con is back. Make sure that's on the screen. An ex-con is back on ice after he struck a McDonald's drive-thru worker in the face with a frozen coffee beverage, according to court records. Is that the frozen coffee beverage, the frap rap, I guess is what they called it, against Daniel Abramowitz, 29 years old, is classified as a felony since the Florida man's rap sheet includes a prior domestic battery conviction for punching his girlfriend, the mother of his children, in the face. Well, he's in Florida. So police yesterday arrested him in connection with the January 31st incident at McDonald's. Investigators allege that he was behind the wheel of a vehicle in the drive-thru lane around 1 a.m. when he engaged in a brief discussion with a fast food worker. He then threw a blended frozen coffee beverage at the victim. You know, that would be much funnier if it was 9 a.m. Because who throws a blended coffee beverage at a McDonald's worker at 9 a.m.? 1 a.m., I would imagine that happens all the time. The drink struck the 28-year-old victim in the facial region, causing the beverage container to break open upon impact. The contents landed on the victim's facial region, hair, and jacket. The battery, cops noted, was recorded by a surveillance camera, and the victim identified the defendant as the assailant. Yeah, and they can't find Guthridge's mom. They get this guy on surveillance. In addition to the battery count, Abramowitz has been charged with violating the terms of a 3-year probation following his 2023 felony for stealing and pawning a watch. Imagine that's not the only time that's happened. A New Jersey native, Abramowitz, his criminal history includes other convictions for obstruction, probation violations, and burglary. He has served separate 3 and 6 month sentences in county jail. Don't go get a frozen coffee beverage at 1 a.m. with someone who's served multiple 3 and 6 month sentences for batteries is advice I would recommend. They should do an entire PlayStation game of people who are found on the smoking gun in Florida. I think maybe GTA 6 might do that. They should if they're not going to. They certainly should. All right, let's look at some of the comments. What's up, Forrest Mommy? I still can't believe that story about that person who's like coming after you in Colorado. It's crazy. Thank you, WMS Words. Looking good for the show tonight. Appreciate that. Finlander, it's good to see you. We'll see you at the show. I imagine we're going to do another Tennessee show this year. I think in September. Let's see. Bank's going to bank for sure. I must have fatigue. I haven't looked into the Iran bombing. You know, I haven't either. That's crazy, isn't it, Jack? So you had the Austin shooting, and it's just the fatigue seems to be pretty intentional. It's a career path. Kids join. Yeah, no, you're right. And it's not even a bad one, honestly. You learn good skills doing that, but you just hope you don't end up in the war. Because eventually, people are going to end up in the war, and it's unfortunate. I think they're orchestrating the fall of America. That's definitely possible. No, so that's like, I've always kind of thought that might be something that's going on with the what was it called? What the hell was the thing? I don't know why I did a whole series on this. My mind is escaping me right now. I think because of sleep depravity. But the Klaus Schwab shit they did like 3 years ago with the pandemic, whatever that's called. The whole point of that was to make America step back a little bit, make China step up, and it certainly feels like that's happening. Life's Pulp Flower says, by having Washington politicians in their pocket through millions of dollars, through hundreds of blackmail attempts, many of a sexual nature, Israel wants to expand. It's some people. There's definitely evidence to that theory. Sonia says, I'm excited. My daughter isn't re-enlisting. Yeah, I am too. Just because I've been saying something is going to happen. I'm glad, and I hope that, anybody whose kid's enlisting, I hope they're safe. Because I know some people who have kids in the military. Sin Baron. I saw an article today that said, Baron too tall for the military? Oh, he's too tall for the military? Send Lindsey Graham, actually. Why Iran attack? Is Epstein? I didn't even get to the Bill Clinton stuff. I just realized that. I'm about to do that next show. I'll do that tomorrow. Because they released the Bill Clinton hearing, as I said. And I pulled some clips. I've only watched part of it, but so I'll play this tomorrow. I apologize for not getting to that today. Not good to make White Lightning angry. That's right, Grubinator. That's right. That's right. What's up, JC? JC says, Twitter has become so bad when it comes to gay partisan politics. You're absolutely right. Trump has done a great job of psyoping the dissident right back into having a faith in the system via the GOP. I completely agree with that, JC. Twitter's become really bad at that. It's like, it's almost like there's not much use out of it anymore, really. It's just so bad. So Ian is taking care of a family member who is struggling. So that's Ian would be here if you could. So send your prayers to Ian. He's going through some guy works hard and he's taking care of a family member. I hope he's okay with me telling you guys that, but he is. So pray for Ian and everybody going through difficult times. With that said, I will be back tomorrow, and I hope you guys will too. We will talk to you guys next time. You guys have a fantastic rest of y'all's day.